Hey, another in point here with Dorin Anghelescu. Now that Ammon Bundy has been arrested and the bag of jerks, or I should say the bag of dicks, has pretty much been thrown in jail except for the last few stragglers. Let me just say that you could have had the people on your side had you shown some kind of intelligence as to know what you were fighting for. Your problem is not with the federal government regulating too much of the range. Your problem is that you're being forced to go ahead and even raise more and more cattle and try to go ahead and squeeze as much out of your farms as possible and work your balls to the bone because you only have four outlets left anymore in this country to go ahead and try to market your beef and your products. There used to be more than 2 dozen of them. What happened? Well, they all began to consolidate themselves with the help of the Republicans and the right-wingers who made sure that they got enough control in Congress to go ahead and manipulate the laws so that somehow now there is no longer any oversight to prevent a monopoly. And while beef prices are at an all-time high, you're being paid even less than ever. So who is raking in all the profits off of your hard labor? Okay, you would benefit from more government interference, not less, but in a different direction, but you didn't even know it. You guys are so busy basically showing up with your big guns and your big trucks you can barely afford to put fucking petrol in, storming some wildlife reserve that belongs to all of us, including me, so we get denied the use of it. While you went ahead and threatened to start a war with the federal government, shooting FBI, blah, 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 blah. We're willing to die for the cause if necessary. Then why, if you're willing to die for the cause, why don't you actually die for one that is worthwhile? Okay? Grow up and know that business is the problem. Okay? Because if you were being paid more for your beef while beef prices are at an all-time high, I've seen extra lean ground beef over $9 a pound. Okay, I have never seen it this high. I'm a full-time college student. I cannot afford beef. Okay? Barely I can afford hamburger. It has been so long since I've had a steak, I can't even remember when. And I love beef. And I support ranchers for the hard work that they do. But you're arguing with the wrong people. Okay? You're being forced into the poorhouse by someone else who's making a lot of profit off the expensive price of your beef at your expense. And the problem is the reason that everybody's sending you a big old bag of dicks is because they think you're acting like a bag of dicks because you're so dumb you don't even know it. Okay? You're not even aware of the problem. You're acting more like a bunch of ignorant hillbillies who have been dumbed down politically and dumbed down intellectually because Republican cuts to education funding have everybody reading at a 7th grade level, doing math at a 5th grade level, and barely able to logic at maybe a 3rd or 4th grade level. Think about it. All right? You went ahead and stormed the reserve thinking that, oh my God, we're going to make this great big old show of force and we're going to take over. We're going to, yeah, we're all big men. What, are you afraid the rest of the world will find out that you're not as well hung as you like to brag you are? Because it sure looked that way to the rest of us. Why do you think you got the rubber dicks? Okay, maybe it's because the real thing wasn't as big as you thought it was, or it wasn't as big as you'd like the rest of us to believe it was. Okay, but that kind of bullshit aside, why didn't you actually think of using your brain in the first place and wonder why you're not getting the price of beef that a lot of you deserve for your hard work? If beef prices are at an all-time high, somebody's making the money, right? Okay, well, why not you guys? So instead, you're being forced to maximize your farms, to basically strip your soil and strip your land of its benefits while you raise as many cattle as possible, and they try to get in grazing on federal lands that belong to all of us, that you should be paying some grazing fees for. All right? But you're barely getting enough for your beef to make your mortgage payments. Which is why, who was it? A couple of you said you're actually taking in foster children, up to 6 of them at a time, because that was the only way you could make any money and pay the bills, because you're busting your ass on your farm and you're getting nothing for it? That's not our fault. See, you could have had a lot of people with you if you had understood that. But you didn't. And you won't believe it. Maybe some of you will believe it now. But when you went ahead and stormed the reserve and threatened to take over with guns and shoot it out with the FBI and kill your way into martyrdom if necessary, you not only showed the world, just how dumb you really were. But you proved to the rest of the country when you said, oh, by the way, I'm sorry, could you actually send us some snacks? Because in this great crusade where we're going to be the victors because we hate the federal government, we forgot to bring food. Oh, how brilliant of you. So you want to go ahead and use the federal post to make sure people across the country can go ahead and send you food because you lack of planning of getting it together because a lack of brain power for this move at this point basically forced you to be starving to death? Yeah, that was a real brilliant move. Okay? Grow up. You're fighting with the wrong people. All right? Your argument was with the wrong people, and you wasted what could have been a great opportunity to establish that more interference from the federal government to beef producers to help them get a fair market price for their beef was just what was needed, not less intervention. So you pick with the wrong people, and you pissed off the general public, and you pissed away a good attitude because you aren't bright enough. You're acting like dumbed-down Republicans, and their cut to education is working. All right, think about it. Good night.